Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning, and I would love to take you along with me as I go out and do chores so you can see what morning chores on a small homestead are like. So right now we have our chicks in the brooder, our meat chicks in the brooder. We have turkeys and ducks in the field, and we have our laying hens in our garden. So come along for the ride, and I have a few thoughts to share with you around chores and morning routines in general as we go through this routine. Before we go outside, I just have to show you my lovely little bouquet. This is my first year growing annual flowers for cut flowers, and it's been so much fun. So, my first bouquet ever. And I finally got our wedding photos printed after all these years. All these years, meaning 2 years. It hasn't been that long, but it still feels like forever. So, those are my little home accomplishments in the last few days. Pro tip, always wear a hat this time of year because the deer flies are kind of crazy. So I always start with the brooder, the chicks in the brooder, because they're the cutest and they're the easiest. So might as well kick it off with something simple. Ruby, good morning. Hello, puppy. Good morning, little baby chicks. The baby chicks are always the highlight of my morning, and really, I just come in here for the snuggles because they really hardly have anything to do for them. So I set up an automatic chick water for them. It's a nipple drinker, so the water stays really nice and clean. I don't have to clean any water. It's rigged up to a hose and a float valve, so I literally have to do nothing. I just double check to make sure it works, but it hasn't failed me yet, thankfully. I'll put the link to that video up in the corner here. You can check out how I made that water to save myself a ton of time. I also have feeders hanging here, and these chicks are a week old. I got them a week ago today, and I have not filled these feeders yet. And we have 35 chicks this time. So it's not a super big batch, but it's been super efficient to just have these hanging feeders and literally just check on them. So I like to switch them around a little bit to make sure the feed is like falling down, and I'm gonna top it with some grit. But other than that, the feed is pretty much self-sufficient in these early days. Here they are. We do have one sad thing this morning though, I noticed. You can see down there by the heat lamp, we have one dead chick, and I don't like sharing dead animals on this channel, but it is a fact of life. As much as I hate that so much, there is really practically never a batch of chicks that I don't have at least one chick die. These are Cornish cross meat chickens, and so I aim to have under 10% mortality rate, and if we do that, we're good. So this is the first of 36, so I'm not concerned, but it is sad. So that's really it for the chicks in the brooder. They're super, super simple. I do have another video about setting up a brooder like this to make chores practically non-existent. So you can go ahead and check that one out if you want more practical information on how to set up your own brooder. To turn off our electric fence here for our turkeys and ducks so I don't get shocked getting in there. All right, heading out to the turkeys and the ducks in the field. We have our turkeys, I think, are around 8 weeks old, about the same for the ducks. So we actually keep them together in the same area right now. They'll both be heading to butcher in early September. So as we're heading out here, one of the questions that people oftentimes ask me is like, oh, is this a lot of work? Do you feel tied down, right? Like my generation, 20-somethings, they want to be out and about and they don't want to have any strings tying them down, and because they want to do whatever they want to do. And okay, in one sense of the word, yes, it does tie me down, right? Like, I have responsibility. I am needed here. The animals need me every single day. I'm gonna crawl through this fence. So in that sense, yes, I am tied down. If you're thinking of like responsibility and being needed, but I wouldn't say I feel tied down. It doesn't feel restrictive. And I think that's because of something I noticed really early on when I started raising animals and homesteading, is that whenever I was having a down day or just feeling kind of like, sluggish, the second I went out to do my chores for the animals, even though I didn't want to at the time, even though it was like a big chore, something that was necessary but not fun sounding, I always went out, took care of the animals, and it was like a breath of fresh air. It just calmed me, and all of a sudden, like, I had new perspective. The thing that was weighing me down didn't bother me quite so much. And I discovered this as a teenager when I was milking goats twice a day, and that goat milking time was like such a refreshing time for me. And so whenever I think about animals tying me down, instead of thinking of it in that negative sense, I like to think of it as like anchoring me. It's a daily routine that I get to do that refreshes me, kind of like working out or, having a good meal. So those are my thoughts on being tied down and why I don't think we should be so afraid of being tied down. But we're here at the turkeys and ducks, so let's get to feeding them. So those are the ducks. They do not like us. These are the turkeys. They come over to say hello and see what's going on. Hey, Turks. How you doing? So for taking care of our turkeys and our ducks, it's all pretty simple. They really just need food and water. I have one of the Placid bell waters rigged up here. Actually, this is a system that Chase, my husband, rigged up, which is temporary until we get our turkey shelter out here. So they're enjoying that. It's literally one of our broiler lids with buckets on the corners, and it stayed put so far. So I come out here once a day, normally in the mornings, and just fill up their feeder, fill up their water at that 5-gallon bucket there, and then they are really nice and happy to just chow down, eat the food. They also have all of this pasture during the day that they can find bugs in, eat the grass, that kind of stuff. In order to keep the grass at a manageable height for these birds, we have our goats clearing the way. So we have 2 wethers, which are castrated male goats. Their only sole purpose in life is literally to clear ground for our poultry. So they're enjoying munching over there, which is where these birds will be next. But for now, everybody's happy, and we need to head down to the laying hens. I normally don't do the laying hens in the morning, but I didn't get to them last evening, so I know there's gonna be eggs to gather and they're gonna need some food. So let's head that direction. I think a lot of people overthink the things that they're gonna need in order to keep livestock. Livestock aren't humans, right? They don't need big fancy houses. Oftentimes a basic shelter will do the job just fine. So there have definitely been times that I have purchased chicks or turkeys well before I was ready, knowing that they were going to spend a few weeks in the brooder before I had to move them somewhere else. And then that forced me to actually get the project done versus, I'm going to put off buying the animal until I'm completely 100% ready. So that has really helped keep me on track and motivate me and actually have me step into raising new species, because once you have them, you kind of have to figure out how to do it. We're gonna swing by and say hello to Tom because he is maxing and relaxing over here. Hello, Tom Kitty. This is our barn cat, Tom. He loves to enjoy the patio in the morning, don't you, Tom? Yeah, kitty? How are you? What's going on? Really? Whenever I head down to the Laying Hens, I always grab two things. Our scrap bucket that has a bunch of different food scraps in it from both Chase and I and my parents. They come and bring their food scraps. And the egg basket, which we don't have a ton of eggs right now, so these are eggs from yesterday or the day before that haven't been washed, so they've just been sitting in the basket. Let's head down. Good morning, girls. How are you? So this is our laying hen setup. They have an electric net pasture that we move around, and then their coop is down there. So I have to walk all the way around because the electric box is on the other side. So it's a little bit of a trek. So taking care of the laying hens is really simple. Are you sensing a theme? All of the animals I have are really simple. But they pretty much just need food and water and their scraps and their eggs gathered. And that's what I do on a regular basis. The food actually only has to be filled every few days, which is really nice. And same with the water. So today they needed food. They got water a couple days ago, so they should be good for another day. But gave them their scraps, which they love, and then gather their eggs. So taking care of my laying hens probably takes me about 5 minutes a day, and they provide me with a lot of delicious eggs. So definitely worth it. So now that the laying hens are done, we're gonna go back up, take a quick peek at the goats' water, and turn on the garden water for the day. I am going to be weeding later this afternoon with a friend, and so I want to make sure that the ground is nice and moist because that, oh, mosquito. Oh, ugh, mosquitoes. I want to make sure the ground is nice and moist because that makes pulling weeds so much easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the overhead and make sure it's working, and then we'll be done for the day. And it's time to head in and get on with the day. All right, let's go take a peek at the garden. All right, we got a lot of squash flowering right now. So here we have our squash and our melons. They're doing well. And our sweet potatoes here, these sweet potato vines. And our cucumbers, which are climbing like crazy right now. And a few eggplant that I'm growing for the first time this year. Oh, guys. Okay, look at this. Look at this. I've been patiently waiting for our first sun gold tomato. This is very close. I kind of want to eat it. I might wait though. I might wait just a tiny bit longer. I get so impatient. And on this side of the garden, we have our kale, which is doing well. 2 different varieties of kale. Swiss chard. We have our edamame. Yum. Oh, I need to put up my beetle trap. Get ready for a video on putting up beetle traps. Onions. Yum. Yum. Love growing onions. Our potatoes, which are pretty much going to be done soon. My carrots that I've been working hard to thin. Beets. Oh, yum. Cilantro that's gotten really big and is starting to bolt. And my flowers. This year I'm growing flowers for the first time. And look at this. Look at my beautiful, beautiful zinnias. I love that. And popcorn. And peppers. And a bunch of overgrown greens that I need to deal with. All right, now that you've had the little tiny mini garden tour, I'm gonna turn on the water. We have our watering system rigged up here with our hydrant, and all we have to do is flip a switch and it waters the whole garden. There we go. we should be good to go, and I can see it and hear it. And the goat's water is good. You guys have water. You don't need anything. They want tree leaves. That's what their heart desires. Isn't that right, Charlie Brown? Thanks for coming along with me as I did chores today. Be sure to check out some of my other videos if you're interested in learning how I set up my brooder or set up my coop, or are just curious to follow along on more homesteading adventures. Until next time!